If you followed me for any length of time, you know I don't trust polls. You don't know who's doing them, you don't know who's funding them, what questions they're asking, and what their purpose is, etc. You also don't know how they're getting their data. But there was an interesting poll from the Des Moines Register today, and it was asking, Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris. And it found that Donald Trump leads Kamala Harris in Iowa 47 to 43%, slightly outside the margin of error for the poll, but that is up from the last poll they did, which was before Joe Biden dropped out of the race. That the last poll they did when it was Donald Trump versus Joe Biden had Donald Trump up by 18%. That means she's closed the gap 14% on Donald Trump. Now, I don't trust polls. I do find it interesting, but I don't find it as a good indicator because, like I said, you don't know who's doing them, you don't know who they're asking, you don't know any of that, and like where their target demographics are, etc. But the fact that this poll is saying she's closing the gap is interesting. I have said for a while that I think Iowa is potentially in play. I don't necessarily want to say it's a guarantee that it will go blue, but I think it's going to be closer than people realize. Now, Iowa was trending blue up until the Republicans brought Terry Branstad back out, ran him as governor, and of course he won re-election. Then he got sent to be an ambassador to China, and that's how we got Governor Kim Reynolds. We only still have Kim Reynolds because, in part, she's attached to Terry Branstad, one of the most popular governors in the state for many reasons, and I think part of it has to do with the fact, for a lot of people my age, for a good chunk of your life, he was the governor. So you're just like, oh, well, Terry Branstad was in charge. Okay, well, things were okay. You looked around, thought things were doing pretty good, and you voted him in again. Well, I think that happened a lot, and because she's connected to Terry Branstad, I think that's why she goes and gets a little bit of a pass. But I think Iowa's in play for a couple of reasons. On top of the fact that Donald Trump just is unpopular, no matter what he will tell you, and he's getting weirder and crazier by the day. J.D. Vance is weird and crazy. And Kamala Harris is very popular and is surging right now. On top of that, you have the abortion ban for Iowa has gone into effect in between the time Joe Biden stepped out of the race and now. That one was approved by the Iowa Supreme Court. Beyond that, there was also a transgender ban that was approved by the federal circuit court that said it was allowed to go into effect, where you can't talk about transgender issues, you can't talk about LGBTQ issues in school, anything like that, and there were some book bans, things like that. That has also gone into effect since Joe Biden stepped aside. So I do think Iowa is in play, and I do think this is the beginning of a trend, but I don't trust the poll, but the more like the poll is backing what I've been saying based on what I can see from available data. The other thing I'm seeing is as I'm out and about, I'm not seeing nearly the Trump signs everywhere. I'm seeing way more Harris Walz signs than I am Donald Trump signs, and I'm even seeing signs for other races out way more than I'm seeing Donald Trump signs. So I do think Iowa is in play, and I believe the Des Moines Register, their poll, is kind of confirming what I've been saying.